All right, this new feature is really cool. The idea is you have your contract that you filled out and your measurement sheet, and now you need to schedule the job. You can easily just, with the click of a button, press this create event, and it's going to take all the information from this contract and measurement sheet, and it creates an event in your calendar. So it just created this event right here. If I click on it, I can see all the useful information, and you'll even see there's a clickable link here that'll take me to the folder that this is in within your drive. And then I can see, budgeted hours, materials budget, contact information, address. So you could share the calendar with your crew, and then they have all the information they need right here, and they can click here to go straight to the folder in the drive, which you'd have pictures of the jobs from when you did the estimate. You have your work order and everything broken out for you. So that's what the update is the ability to create calendar events. Now you also have the option to use multiple calendars. So it could do this when you press that, bring up this drop down, and you could, whether you separate them by crew or territory or whatever it is, you could pick which calendar you want it to go on, and then it'll put it on that calendar. So it just created this event right here. So all the new sheets will have this already built in, but if you have been using my sheets and you have a template you've built out and you just want to update it to be able to do this, down in the description I'll have instructions on how to do that for you. And setting this up is super easy. So what comes stock with the new sheets is the single calendar. If you wanted to have multiple calendars, you just have to copy paste in a couple extra things, which I'll show you at the end of the video on how to do. But let me just show you how you'd set up the single calendar, how it comes. So what you're going to need is the calendar ID that you want to put this event on. So I'm going to use this fake production calendar. And with this being Google Sheets and Google, it does need to be a Google Calendar. But I'm going to click on these three dots here and go to Settings. And then if you scroll down, you'll see this Integrate Calendar, and you'll have this calendar ID right here. You're going to want to copy this. Then you'll go to your estimate sheet, the main template, the one that you make copies of, go to Extensions, and then click on App Script. And then right at the top here, you'll see this Enter Calendar ID here. You're going to want to highlight this and then paste that calendar ID you just copied right there. And it should be highlighted in red like this. If it's not and it looks funky, something like this, all you need to do is come back here and put that in there. Even if it is in there and it's not highlighted in red, just delete it, put it back, and it will be. But it should work just as you saw here. I just pasted it in there. Looks great. You'll notice this little orange thing right here that says you need to save it. And to save it, you can press Control S or just hit this little Save Project button right here, and that's it. Now it's working. So the only other thing you'd really want to do here is customize it for what you like and prefer. And there's two things you want to look at when doing that. This right here, where you see these lines and this is kind of indented out, all of this is what it's putting into the calendar event. The other thing you'd want to look at is how long do you want this calendar event to be, which is this one right here. Just look for end date. You can press Control Find and type end date, no space. This guy right here is where you can put in how long you want this to be. So let's take a look at what it actually says in the calendar event and how to edit that. In your measurement sheet and contract, you'll notice there's this new calendar sheet. And this sheet is where it's pulling all of the data and putting it into the calendar event. And the ones that are highlighted in blue are ones that are not an equation. What I mean by that is if I click here, you'll see in the equation bar, it's pulling it from somewhere, versus on the blue, it's just blank. So before you create a calendar event, this is the page I would look at and just make sure it all looks right, and then add in anything extra that you may want in the calendar event. And you don't even need to put this into the calendar event if you don't want to. It's just whatever you want to put in there that is helpful at a glance. Look for your employees or contractors. So you can see that the painting price actually comes from the price in the measurement sheets, this number right here. And then if you fill out this contract, you'll see puts that information in here. On the contract, if I say change colors, HOA, you'll see it says it has HOA, change colors. Number of colors is coming from right here. So if I put 3, then it'll show number of colors. Notes on contract is whatever is the notes on the contract. So you can see I type that there and then it shows up here. Option shows, you can see for our company it's helpful will be like, Sherwin, Williams, duration, and then if it was like interior, you might say like basement only, or if it's exterior, whole house, something like that. If you happen to know the colors already, like the IDs, like 2547, fake color ID, it's helpful to put that in there. But the point is, this is where it's getting all the information, And this is the formatting right here. Now I know this looks a bit intimidating and kind of confusing. It's really just saying, hey, put this cell into it, this cell into it. This is like formatting stuff. When you see it written like this, that's just saying like, hey, put that in there and then use whatever's in that cell. So you can see painter pay, view data, this cell with some formatting. To make this super easy is you can actually just use the latest and greatest LLM. There's tons of free ones now. ChatGTP is free, and you can just literally copy this, paste it, and it'll tell you what's going on, which is pretty amazing. And then you could easily make adjustments. So you could come down here and say, you know, adjustment, and you could say, I want to remove cell 6B. So you'd be like, can you rewrite this to remove cell 6B and then add in a new row, cell 24B, and make it bold, please. And then you can see, here's the rewritten one. You can just copy it. It'll show you the changes made. It even gives you a revised one, and you can literally just go copy and paste it into the script. So it's actually a lot easier than you might think to edit this to demonstrate and show the information you may want. And if you wanted something like this adjustment, right, it's like, you know, I really want my prep hours here. Like, I like to know what the prep hours is. You would just, on your calendar sheet, press equals, go to your measurements, and then just click right there and press enter. And now your prep hours will be there, and you could push that into your calendar. All right, so now I'm going to go over how you can adjust the calendar event length, like the dates that the calendar event will be. So you've got a couple options on how to do this. So let me just explain how it's set up based on how I do it, and then also how you can adjust this to meet your needs. In my company, we use subcontractors for all our exterior residential work, and then we use employees on our interior work. So for exterior, the way we do it is we just put every job in for the whole week, Monday through Friday, no matter how big or small it is. And we just look at it on how many jobs are we doing a week, and we move things around from there. So in your measurement sheet and contract, you'll notice there's this new calendar sheet. And this sheet is where it's pulling all of the data and putting it into the calendar event. So you'll see we have a start date right here. And if I click on it, you'll see it's pulling it from the contract page, R29. So if I go to contract, it's using this date right here. So if you double click this date, you could pick a day. So the way that my company does it for exterior repaints is we always just put it on a Monday. And we just tell our clients like, hey, we're tentatively shooting sometime Monday to Friday on the week of, you know, July 15th through the 19th. And then I'll show you our calendar real quick. So we just have jobs that go the entire week. So you could click here and you could see all the jobs that we're going to do in that week. We do color coordinate it for territory, but we keep it on one calendar for our subs. And then if you click into one, it's going to have all the useful information that we need, as well as a link to the folder and a link to our contact in the CRM. If you don't use my CRM, you won't see this there, but it's there in case you do as a convenience factor. But and then you can see I can click on the folder and it redirects me straight to the drive where I've got, you know, colors, our measurement sheet, the signed contract. We've got before pictures in there. Now on the interior, we've got different calendars for our north and south, but you'll see we actually have the jobs planned out based on how much time it is. So, you know, you'll see these like 1-day jobs here. You'll see some like 3-day jobs, a 2-day job, and you'll see like a job that'll take up like 4 weeks. So it's based on the amount of time because we're using employees, and you could do it either way is the point I'm trying to make. So if you're going to do it by Monday through Friday, or that every job is a certain amount of days like we do with the exterior, you can see this add days 5. Whatever number you put right there is the number of days that the job will be. Now, you could also do it this way right here to where the end date is actually a cell. So how do you know what cell this is, right? Let's look for 14.1 is actually on this calendar sheet. It's this right here. And the reason is the first number is the row. And when you're doing app scripts like this, the first row is actually 0. So it would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you always just subtract 1. So row 15 is actually 14 because row 1 is actually 0. So that's where it's saying 14. And then the 1, again, it's the same thing with the columns. A is 0, B is 1. So that's why it says 14-1. So it's saying the start date is this cell right here. And then it's saying the end date is 5 days after the start date. So you don't really have to worry too much about that. You could just change the number in there if you want. Or if you want the end date to be a specific day, like here I'm saying whatever is in cell 15.1. So on my interior sheet, because we use employees, I've got an end date here, which is 15.1. And you'll see my end date is this equation here, which all it's saying is take this as the start date and add whatever is in this cell, but only add work days, because being employees, they don't work on the weekend. So if you have a 2-day job that starts on a Friday, rather than it being Friday and Saturday, I wanted it to be Friday and Monday. So this equation is there for you to copy paste or use. And then the way I'm getting the number of days is I'm taking the budgeted hours, what's right here, and I'm dividing it by 16, because we work in 2-man crews. They work 8 hours a day. So one full day of work is 16 hours. So we take the total hours, divide it by 16, and that's how many days it takes. The rest of this is just saying round up to 0 decimals. So rather than it being a half a day, it'll just count it as a full day, because our calendar events are all day events. So it just makes more sense that way. So I know that seems like a lot, but it's really not that bad. All you have to do is decide, how many days do I want each event to be? Do I want it based off the amount of hours in the job, or do I want it based off of something like we do with the subs, where just all our jobs are Monday through Friday, and we kind of use the calendar as like a queue for jobs, and we just move them in between weeks, and then just use whichever one is appropriate. So let's say on the exterior, I wanted to make it like the interior, where it's based on the number of hours. So what I could do is I'm going to look in my painter pay breakdown, and I'm going to find the total amount of hours, which is right here. So on the calendar sheet, I'm going to say equals, and I'm going to go to my painter pay breakdown, and I'm going to click on this cell right here and press enter. And now if we put like, say, a measurement in there, you'll see that's 52 hours. And on the calendar sheet, it shows 52. So if I wanted it to be just like the interior, I would come here and I would say divide this by 16 for 16 hours a day. And you can see that's 3.28. And it's like, I don't want quarter days, I want full days. So then you just click right after the equals and type in round up, and then open parentheses, go to the end, comma, 0, and then close the parentheses. That's just saying how many places do you want it to round. We don't want any decimals, that's why it's 0. So now it's 4. So if you wanted to stay consistent with the labeling, I wouldn't move these because they're helpful features, but I could put end date. And then I'm going to say equals workday. When you start typing, it should pop up, and you can also just click on it. And then it'll kind of tell you what's the start date. Okay, it's this one right here. And then comma. Okay, number of days. Well, it's this one right here. And then we can just close the parentheses. So it shows that would be the end date. Now what I'd want to put in the script is, I want the end date to be this cell, which if you remember, it's actually going to be 18 for the first number because 1 is 0. So I would just delete this, and then I'd put 18. And then the 1 is correct because A is 0, B is 1. So that's all you got to do. And now that's the end date for it. So you would just press save. And then if you wanted to do the opposite, like on the interior, you wanted it to be amount of days. And I'll have this stuff for you to copy paste, but you would just come to your end date. You would change it to be the same as the start date. And then you're going to add dot add days. And then you'll do the open parenthesis and it'll automatically make it for you. I'll put 5 there and then a semicolon. And then you could just change the number of days, right? So I'll press save. All right, and then the last thing I'll cover is, let's say that you want it to be more than one calendar. And you could say, I want to pick what calendar I want this to go on. So you'd go to the appropriate one. I have multi and single calendar for both exterior and interior. We'll do the exterior. So I'm just going to open this up. And then you'd go to your exterior measurement sheet. You're going to go to extensions, app script, and you're just going to copy paste this stuff in. So for the push to calendar, I'm just going to copy all this. Copy. I'm going to come here. I'm going to press Control A, backspace, so it's all gone, and then Control V to paste. Then I would come here, I'd go to the menu, copy paste this in, copy. I'm going to go to this menu one here, Control A, backspace, Control V for paste. And then we have to add one more thing that's a HTML, and it's this right here. So super simple, just press this plus button, and instead of script, pick HTML. For the name, just name it new event, just like this, copy paste. You can hit rename, paste. I would spell it exactly like that with the new being lowercase. And then we're going to come here and we're going to copy all of this. Copy, come here, highlight all that, press backspace, paste. All right, so now you have the script in there, and you do want to change a few things. So let's start with the push to calendar. Up at the very top here, you'll see it looks just like the single, except there's more than one calendar. It says enter calendar ID here, and then before that is a name. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to use like north and south. So I'm going to say north is the name of my first calendar. And then you'll notice these single quotations look weird. So I'm just going to hit backspace on the first one and put it in there. Do the same thing on that. And it should be red and look like that. All right, so now I'm going to put my calendar ID here. So I'll go to my calendar. I'm going to do these two, fake production, calendar, south fake. I'm going to hit settings, go down to this calendar ID, copy, come back into here, paste. And now you do want this to be in those single quotations. So you want both the name and the calendar ID separated by the colon. So now we got north, so now I'm going to do south. So I'm just going to highlight all of this, open quotation, south, and then I'm going to get my other calendar, right, this south fake one, scroll down to the calendar ID, copy that, come back here, highlight all of this, I'm going to press backspace, single quotation, which gives you both right there, and you're in the middle, paste, and that's it. So now I've put in the calendars. Now if you wanted a third calendar, you would just repeat this, right? So you can see what's separating it is this comma. So we would just go comma, quotation, west. Okay, then you're gonna do colon, 2 dots, single quotation, and then grab another calendar ID, right? So we can do this guy here. Copy this, come back to here, paste, and so forth. So you could have as many as you need. All right, we're not done yet. Now you want to go to the new event, the HTML. You want to come down to the bottom here, and you want to make some changes here. So it has these two in there automatically, but if you had that third one like we do, you could just grab this, go copy, paste, make a new one, right? So now we've got 3, and then for that last one, I'm going to change it to west here as well as right here. All right, and then the most common thing, at least for me, that I mess up here is I don't spell these exactly the same. So I would just double check, everything's spelled the exact same here. So north, south, west, as well as here. We got north, south, and see my south is not spelled right. So that would mess it up. When that happens, you'll get an error and it says cannot read properties of undefined, and I'll say cal name for calendar name. So north is correct, south is correct, west is correct. I'm going to double check those one more time. Looks good. I'll hit the save button. Now I'm going to run this. And you'll see we've got this drop down so I can pick whichever one I want. So I'll pick this west, hit submit, and then we got the success thing here. So we'll go to my calendar. The south was actually this sales season folder. And yep, there it is right there. So that's how you would do multiple calendars if you want. And then you'll notice it's the same in terms of what it's putting in there and the start and end date. Real quick with the interior, one thing you might notice is there's this other app script at the beginning just labeled code. This has nothing to do with the calendar. This is just a protections script that just copies the protections to different sheets when you create copies and stuff, just to make it so you're less likely to accidentally change something that would break the functions. But just wanted to mention, like, this has nothing to do with the calendars. When you go to update the interior to be multi-calendar, you would just update this one, and then add the HTML script. All right, so that's the new push to calendar feature. I hope it's as useful to you as it is to me and my company. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out.